Hi there. I'm going to walk you through this packet that I gave you to fill out, and I told you to watch this video. This video will help us at least fill out this portion of the table, so when you come into class the next day, you can at least finish the table and then answer the questions that are involved in the packet. Now, I'm calling this little section polynomials, and I'm calling this a polynomials packet. And we're going to be sketching these polynomials, and we're going to find some trends of polynomials that are greater than second degree. All right. And when you think about that, first of all, that might sound, you might be like, wow, that sounds complicated. Okay, so let's talk about that. We've talked about two types of polynomials up to this point. Well, actually, more than two, but mainly two. Okay, one type of polynomial would be just linear equations. Okay, and remember, linear equations, they are first degree. Okay, so we've talked about first degree equations, and then of course we've also talked about second degree equations, and remember, these equations were quadratics, and those were second degree. The purpose of this packet is to talk about functions that are higher than even first or second degree and have some basic understandings of what those functions graph like. All right. So with that said, let's go to the packet, and you see the packet here, and we have to fill out a table. And I want to walk through a couple of these to make sure you're able to get this filled out right and get the hang of it, and then I can let you fill out the rest, okay? Well, it says, first of all, graph each function on your graphing calculator. So the first function they give you is f of x equals x minus 3 times x plus 2 times x minus 1. So let's go ahead and graph that. So I'm going to go over here to my calculator. I'll go to the y equals key, and I'm going to type in x minus 3 and times x plus 2, and we'll multiply that by x minus 1. And when you hit graph for the first time on this, you'll probably be blown away a little bit. You're probably like, holy smokes, what the heck is that? All right, I haven't seen a graph like that before. Well, let's examine some things on this graph, and we're going to actually fill out this table as we're examining. Well, first of all, the graph looks like this. Now, I'm looking at this closely. It looks like the graph is crossing the x-axis at -2, +1, and +3. Maybe I should highlight those with my pen here. Oops, I got to get back to the screen. And there we go. Okay, let me highlight these. Maybe I'll use a highlighter. This looks here like we're at -2, +1, and +3. Okay, so now when I go ahead to sketch this, let's go and sketch this. All right, when I sketch this thing, get the hang of this. Okay, so my graph is going, here's my XY axis. It looked like this thing, we said, crossed at -2, +1, and +3. It looks something like that. All right. Now this next column stands for x-intercepts. Well, we said we thought the graph crossed the x-axis at -2, +1, +3. Now, when you think about that, look at this equation carefully. You might look at that and be like, wait a minute, okay, let me see, -2, +1, +3. If I put -2 in here, I get 0. If I put 3 in here, I get 0. And if I put 1 in there, I get 0. Well, there's my x-intercepts. So that might kind of get you to understand, why does this graph cross the x-axis at these points? You can kind of see it in the equation. Okay, lead coefficient. This stands for lead coefficient. Let's examine the lead coefficient. The lead coefficient would be right here, out in front. and I don't see any number in front. Well, remember, that doesn't mean 0. If there was a 0 out in front, none of this would be here. That means 1. The lead coefficient is 1. And since the lead coefficient is 1, that's a positive lead coefficient. I'll put plus 1. Okay, so the lead coefficient's a positive 1 right now. The right arm, okay, of this polynomial, this is the right arm. The right arm is definitely opening up. All right, the degree of the function. Okay, I don't see any exponents here. This would be first degree. This would be first degree, and this would be first degree. And since I'm actually I'm technically multiplying not even technically, I am multiplying all this together. First degree times first degree times first degree. There's 3 degrees in here. This is third degree. Let's compare the right arm to the left arm. The right arm's opening up. The left arm's opening down. Okay, so when I write a comparison to that, just 1 second here. I'm going to pause this for just a second. I'm back. I just wanted to grab a copy of this, so I had a copy in front of me on my desk of this sheet that I'm working through with you. Okay, so when I'm comparing the two, the right arm is opening up, so I'm going to just put right arm is up, and the left arm is opening down. Okay, the number of real solutions. Your graph shows the solutions. Anytime your graph crosses the x-axis, that's a root or a solution. So again, taking my highlighter, I have 1, 2, 3 solutions. And then the next thing, this is abbreviated, it says x-intercept bounce. In other words, it's asking, does this graph ever approach the x-axis, hit it, and then just kind of bounce off? And, well, no, it doesn't. It crosses through every time. There's no bounces here. A bounce would mean, like, think about a ball. It hits the floor and bounces in the other direction. We never see that happening here. The line never hits the x-axis and immediately reverses direction. It just passes through it. There's no bounce on this at all. Okay, so let's fill out our next one now. So this is f of x equals x plus 2 times x minus 1 squared times x minus 3. So let's go ahead and fill that in our calculator. And I actually have to do that, so let me do that here. Clear this off. I said it was x plus 2, and times x minus 1 being squared, and square that, and I'm multiplying that by x minus 3. There we go. I entered that in. And let's go ahead and graph this and see what it looks like. And when I do that, wow, that looks strange. Okay, so it looks almost like this weird shaped W. Let's analyze this a little bit before we switch screens. Okay, it looks like I'm crossing right here at -2. It looks like I'm touching the x-axis at 1, and it looks like I'm still touching at 3. Okay, so let me go ahead and sketch that back on my packet. So I want to sketch this here, and let's do that. Actually, I should go back. Let me go back to this screen. That will be easier. Let's just sketch it on here. Okay, so here's my XY axis. And we said that this thing looks something like this. And then it did one of those deals, and it looked something like that. Okay, x-intercepts. It looked on my calculator like we crossed, and we already mentioned that, at -2. It hit the x-axis at +1 and +3. So it looks like it's intersecting at those same places as my previous problem, which, okay, that should make sense. I see if I plug in -2 here, or 1 here, or 3 here, I should be touching the x-axis. The lead coefficient, it's definitely +1 right now. The right arm's opening up. Let's get our degree. Well, the degree, I have this binomial is first degree, but this one here, you can see a second power. That's second degree, and then I have another first degree binomial here. I have 1, 2, and 1. That's fourth degree. And when I look at my arms, the right arm is opening up, and the left arm is opening up. This has 1, 2, 3 intercepts, so it has 3 solutions. And then finally, is there a bounce? Well, yes, right here. Right here, there's a bounce because I hit this equation or this graph hits the x-axis and bounces off. So there is a bounce in this one. So as we fill out this table, we want to try to see why are we getting a bounce here. We might see a pattern developing. And I'm going to do one more of these to fill out, and then I'm going to let you fill out the rest of the table. I wanted just a video to help you get the table filled out in case you had questions of how to fill out the table. The questions in the packet, you'll have to fill out the table, and then reading through the questions in the packet and deciphering this table, it will explain how you can look at the equation and sketch these without your calculator. That's the goal of this whole packet. All right? So let's do one more. Here's the function, and I want to get that in my calculator, so let's do that. And I got to go to the y equals key. I'll clear this out of here. And I have a negative out front, and then I have x minus 3. And I'm multiplying that by x plus 2. And then I'm multiplying that by x minus 1. Okay, so I've entered that in, and I'm going to graph that. And I got this weird looking thing again. Okay, so let's now, when I analyze this carefully, and I look at it carefully, it looks like, well, wait a minute here, it looks like it's intersecting the the x-axis, my mistake, x-axis at -2. It looks like it's intersecting at 1, and it looks like it's intersecting at 3 again. All right, so let me go back to my paper, my introductory table there. We got to fill that out, so let's fill that out. So this time, this thing looked a little different from the previous one here. It looked like this. We said we were crossing the x-axis at -2. We were crossing at +1, and then we were crossing at +3. It looks something like that. Okay, so the intercepts were still the same, and let's see if that makes sense. Well, if I plug in 3, I get 0. If I plug in -2, I get 0. And if I plug in 1, I get 0. So my intercepts are still the same. Okay, but now we have a few differences. The lead coefficient here, you can see it's -1. The right arm now happens to be opening down. Okay, what degree is this? Well, this is first. This binomial is first degree, so is this one, and so is that one. I have 3 degrees. The right arm, in this problem, it's opening down, while the left arm happens to be opening up. This definitely has 3 solutions. I see it crossing the x-axis in 1, 2, 3 places. And do I have a bounce? Is this bouncing? Well, it doesn't bounce here. It just passes through the x-axis. It's not bouncing there. It doesn't bounce at all. There's no bounce at all in this. Okay, so I walked you through half of filling out this table. I think you can finish filling out the table. When you're done with the table, then we want to make some observations regarding the table, which you will do. And then on the following pages, you're going to be asked some questions, and those questions are going to help you understand what does the lead coefficient do to my graph? What does the degree of the function do to my graph? You know, when would I see a bounce or not? Those are things that after filling out the rest of the table, you will start seeing patterns, and you will be able to eventually, the whole goal again of this whole section is to be able to take one of these and sketch it without our calculator. And when you're done filling out this packet, that's something you will be able to do. All right, so you can get going on that packet then.